Hello, you guys. So I wanted to do a video explaining to you what keto is all about and making sure that you have a clear understanding of the keto diet, because if you do it wrong, it can end up in you gaining weight. Sometimes if you do it too long, it can actually end up stunting your metabolism. And keto works differently for men and women. So we're going to dive into this so that you have a clear understanding of what the keto diet is all about, why it was created, so you can make a smart decision on what's best for your health and fitness. If you have been following me at all, you know that I'm not a huge advocate for keto for a lot of reasons that I'm going to cover in this video, but we'll still dive into that. By the way, if you are looking for more fitness, holistic nutrition, and mindset tips, make sure you hit the subscribe button, because I come out with new videos every single week to help educate you and empower you to become your best self. All right, so the keto diet. The idea behind the keto diet is that you are eating very little carbs and large amounts of healthy fats and quality protein. Now, the ratio for that is about 5% of your daily macronutrients come from carbs, 20 to 25% comes from your quality proteins, and then around 70% comes from your healthy fats. Those ratios are going to shift, but if you use something like MyFitnessPal or any other food logging app, you can change the ratios in there. So again, it's going to be around 5% carbohydrates, 25-ish% of protein, and then around 70% of healthy fats. So the idea behind this is there's something that happens in your cells. So to give you understanding first of where you get your fuel from is glycogen. So glycogen is stored in our livers, and it comes from the carbohydrates that we consume. Now, people don't realize that carbohydrates isn't just breads and rices and grains. Carbohydrates also are coming from fruit, from vegetables. Sugar turns into carbohydrates into the body. And your body stores all these in your liver and then releases this into the bloodstream to give you energy. So whenever you're working out or doing HIIT training or intense like circuit training, your liver is pumping out all this stored energy or glycogen from the carbohydrates that you have been eating to get you through the workout. When you work out, your body kind of gets depleted of that right around the 40-minute marker. And this is a whole other video I can do about why you don't need to work out for an hour or 2 hours, because after, it's like, this is science, after about 40-45 minutes, you're not really doing much. I mean, you're exercising, but like in regards to the gains, the lean muscle, the quality of what you're doing, your glycogen has been depleted after this amount of time, the liver stores. But also, you don't really have the energy to give the maximum amount of effort, and your muscle fibers are already torn down. So you don't need to work out for an hour or 2 hours. I will do a different video on that. But so going back to keto. So when we work out, this is where we get our fuel. Throughout the day, this is where we get our fuel, is through glycogen in our liver being released through the carbohydrates that we eat. The way keto shifts this is when you drop your carbohydrates down to about 5%, there's going to be a little bit of a delay. And I call this like the weird thing about keto, because what happens is the first couple weeks you do keto, you've dropped your carbohydrates down to about 5%, you're eating all this fat, you're starving. You're like, I'm hitting my macronutrients, but I'm starving. The reason you're starving is because there's cell turnover that has to happen. So you're eating all these fats and you're limiting the amount of carbohydrates. Your body will keep holding on to fat because it's waiting. It's waiting for you to give it the carbohydrates. And it's like, no. We're signaling to your brain, we need glucose, we need sugar, we need carbs. So you keep giving it food. You can be hitting your daily caloric intake and you're giving it food, but the cell turnover hasn't quite happened yet. So you feel like you're so hungry even though you're eating plenty, because the body is smart and it's like, hey, he or she has been giving us carbs this whole time, so we're not going to burn fat. Like, thank you for the protein and the fat. We're going to hang on to that. We're going to keep telling you to feed us more until you give us the carbohydrates, because that's what we're used to. So when this happens, if you are trying out keto, just write it out. Write it out, because eventually, and it's usually, like I said, around like the 2-ish week marker, like 2.5 weeks, eventually your body realizes, oh, they're not going to give us carbohydrates. We have to start burning what they are giving us. And it's called the cell turnover, where your cells will start using the fat as fuel instead of carbohydrates that you're consuming. That's kind of the idea behind keto. And like, there's been a lot of science behind how this can help with like fatty tissue around your organs and really cleaning that out, about decreasing inflammation and all these things. Here's the point that I want to make though, is I'm not a huge advocate for keto for long term. I don't think there's anything wrong with it short term, especially if you're just like trying to jumpstart something, or maybe you're coming over like an illness or an injury or something. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And actually, people who tend to have high blood sugar, so if your fasting glucose or fasting insulin is high, that means that you have too many carbohydrates running through your bloodstream. If you're not sure what that is, there's a link in the description to a company that I work with called Inside Tracker, that they will send somebody to your home or your office to do a really easy blood draw, to do a full functional panel of things like what we're talking about: your glucose, your insulin, cholesterol, your inflammation markers, your hormones, all those things, which is really important. Functional labs are very different than traditional labs because they're more thorough, and the range that they give you is a lot tighter based on you, not the overall population where you have a range of like 0 to 1,000, but you as an individual, what the best biomarkers are for your body. So if you're not sure about your fasting glucose and insulin, you can use them to get updated functional lab results, and you'll get nutrition recommendations with that based on what your lab results are. Anyways, people who tend to have high blood sugar and fasting insulin or borderline diabetic, keto can work really well short term, because you have those high blood sugars because you're consuming way too many carbohydrates and way too many processed sugars in your diet, that your body is literally just using that as fuel, and the rest of it just sits in your bloodstream. So by doing keto short term, it forces your body to stop relying on that so much and to start using fat as fuel, and for the cell turnover to happen. Now, going with male, female, hormone makeup and how our bodies work. Keto, and this is my recommendation, I've done this for over 16 years now. I think keto is safe, and when I have clients who come to me with high blood sugar, or they're having issues with getting those numbers in an optimal range, we will do a keto-ish style nutrition program short term, just to get that blood sugar back in the range. However, the reason I don't think that this is great long term, especially for women, and anybody who, if you've ever done keto, or like you've done it with a husband or boyfriend or friend, you're like, oh, my husband lost 20 pounds, I lost 5, and then it stopped. Here's the reason why. Women's hormone makeup is, we get all of our estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, all of our hormone production from our DHEA, which this is the precursor to cortisol, everything that we need. We get that process, and the way that our DHEA gets replenished is every night when we go to sleep. This is also why women need way more sleep than men do, because men's hormone turnover and production does not happen the same way. So for women, we need more sleep, more DHEA production. The way our body produces this DHEA production is through carbohydrates. So women need more carbohydrates, not a ton. Like, I'm not saying you need to like overload on carbs and eat a high carb diet, but we do need more carbohydrates than men because of our hormone makeup. And this is why a lot of women might have great success in the beginning with keto, and then they kind of plateau and they're not losing any weight, and their husband is because your body is trying to protect you, to make sure it has enough of what it needs in order to keep all of your hormones in balance. The other thing about this too is when women do keto and the carbohydrate drops too low to where the body can't, again, produce DHEA, progesterone, estrogen, all those things. When it drops too low, to keep your energy high, the body will produce an excess amount of cortisol. So cortisol isn't all bad. There's a lot of like bad raps around cortisol. It's not bad because cortisol is necessary. Like there is good stress that we need. It's also super necessary for our sleep cycles and our wake cycles. But when you are under consuming in carbohydrates, your body will pump out excess cortisol to give you the energy that it needs to give you that it's not getting from food. So it's like, all right, well, you're not going to give me food. So what I'm going to do is instead, I'm going to give you extra cortisol to give you energy. But in order to do that, we have to store extra belly fat and we have to limit the amount of progesterone that you have, which for women, progesterone is that like calm hormone. It's good for our hair. It's good for sleep. Super important if you're ever trying to get pregnant. But your body will reduce the amount of progesterone that it's producing, increase cortisol if you're not giving it enough food. So a lot of people, this part goes for men too. If you are high stress, you have a lot of stress, your body's pumping out all this excess cortisol, that gets stored in the belly fat area. Your nutrition is super important for this. It's counterintuitive that people think if I do extreme calorie deficits and extreme calorie cutting, I'm going to lose weight. And the answer is yes, you do lose weight, but it will stop because your metabolism will slow down to match the caloric intake that you are giving it. So if you drop too low, which you can drop too low, typically I don't think anybody should go below about 1600 calories a day. That is the minimum amount that your body needs just to function. So even if you were sitting on the couch all day, binge watching Netflix, 1600 is the minimum your organs, your heart, your brain, all these things need just to function. All those things use up energy. So when you start cutting that too low, your metabolism will slow down because it's like, hey, like we can't have a high metabolism if you're not going to feed us enough because then we don't have enough food to take care of the rest of our body. But when you cut too low too, your immune system starts to break down because it's not getting enough energy that it needs to take care of your body. So you start getting colds, you're getting sick really easily, you're bruising really easily, all anxiety, depression, all these things. So coming back to keto, keto is great for short-term cell turnover to like just get that glucose, like those blood sugar numbers back into balance. If you are somebody who has low blood sugar, you struggle with low blood sugar chronically, which again, you need to check this. You have to check your fasting insulin, fasting glucose, all of your numbers. I recommend at least once a year getting functional labs done to see where you're at in overall health. Like diet, nutrition, your workouts are great, but those aren't an indicator of what's going on inside, where when you have these biomarkers and you're checking these, you can actually see based on these numbers of like, oh, my body is not getting enough carbohydrates because my DHEA production is low, my cortisol is super high, like these numbers are off. Cool. Now I know with my nutrition, here's what I need to change. Same thing, it'll mark cholesterol and all that too. So you need to check that. If you are somebody who struggles with low blood sugar, I don't necessarily recommend keto because usually your body is not getting enough glucose. You don't have enough glycogen in your liver for that cell turnover to even happen, that your body's like, just give us some food, give us some carbohydrates, give us some energy. So this is why it's important that anytime you do anything based on nutrition, you're getting real results based off of your body and what your body needs. So people ask me about keto all the time, and every time I kind of just laugh because they're like, what do you think about keto? Should I do keto? And I'm like, listen, I don't think keto is bad. Keto can be great for helping you heal. So if you've got like some illnesses and things like that going on, keto can be great. And like I said, men do better on keto than women do because of the hormone makeup that we have. Long term, for anybody, male, female, doesn't matter. Long term, the best nutrition is going to be one that is balanced with quality lean proteins, good healthy fats, and balanced complex carbohydrates that sit low on the glycemic index. So low on the glycemic index means that it's not going to spike your blood sugar. Those types of nutrition programs and processes are what's going to be best for long-term maintenance and weight loss. And that's what all this is about. I did something the other day talking about intermittent fasting, fasted cardio, dieting, which one is best. And even with keto, what it comes back to is if you want long-term to be strong, fit, healthy, lean, then the goal is to eat balance. This goes for anything in life. When you have balance and structure and consistent efforts, you will have long-term sustainable results. So if you want to try keto for like 30 days or even 60 days, 90 days max would be my recommendation. That's great. Just to get a jump start going. After that, slowly start reintroducing some complex carbohydrates back into your system. Not a lot. We're not going crazy, but a good balanced structure. So what does a balanced macro plan look like? It depends on your activity level, really, and I don't love giving specific recommendations until seeing somebody's labs and blood work and all those things, but it really depends. Typically, it's a 40-30-30, so 40% lean protein, 30% complex carbohydrates, 30% healthy fats. That's like the rule of thumb. That's just general. Like I said, this is different for everybody based on if you're a ectomorph, endomorph, mesomorph, your age, how active you are. But that's the long-term goal, to really have sustainable results in your nutrition, in your fitness program. So hopefully this gives you a better understanding of keto, the idea behind it, and how it works. Like I said, I come out with these videos all the time, so make sure you like and subscribe so you can be up to date. Bottom line, best thing for you to do is to find new healthy habits and see this as a lifestyle. There's so many people that try every new fad diet that comes out, and I try and tell people, like, listen, I've done this a really long time. You know what works, not just for myself, but for all my clients, is balance and moderation. Not binge eating, not extreme dieting, not some fad. Balance and moderation and consistent habits over time are going to get you results that last. If you want to get your functional labs, like I mentioned, I put the link in the description for you. You can check it out. They're also offering 25% off right now if you use that discount code that's there. But I hope this was super helpful, and now you feel a little more empowered and having a better understanding of keto so you can make the best choice for yourself to be your best self. Until next time, see you in the other videos.